Welcome back, Lindsay Friedman. She is the founder of LTCareNav, and we are joined by Whitney Rochelle. Whitney is the founder of Caregiver Support Global. She's also a home care provider and a CareBloom partner. Welcome, Lindsay and Whitney. How are you guys?
Doing wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for having me back.
Always great to see you, Lindsay. You know, Whitney, I introduced you as the founder of Caregiver Support Global, as well as a home care provider and a CareBloom partner. So, you're kind of in the field that I'm in as well. We've had our home care company for just about 15 years, and I know you've seen it, I've seen it. Lindsay, you probably have too. A lot of people use the terms home care and home health interchangeably, even nurses, social workers, discharge planners, but they're actually very, very different. Can you explain the difference for our viewers and listeners and help families to understand when each type of care is appropriate?
Sure. So, as stated, I'm the co-owner of Paradigm Home Care, and we actually provide both services. So we provide the home health and home care. With home care, it's basically personal care where you can have a nurse's aide, a home health aide, or companion come out to your home to do personal care services such as bathing, assistance with dressing, feeding, laundry, light housekeeping, things of that nature that's not, too involved. Home health is when you actually need a nurse to come out, like an RN or LPN, to provide services like wound care, or maybe you have an advanced health condition or terminal illness where you need nursing care. And so that's the difference. And also with home health as well, you have physical therapy, occupational therapy, and things of that nature that fall under that same umbrella that can come out under skilled services.
I also think one of the interesting things is, in Whitney, is I think this is where some people get confused on payment and why they think home care is going to be covered. Can you talk a little bit about payment structure between home care and home health and what that looks like?
Yes. So payment with home care, lots of times it is a private pay service. Personal care services many times is not covered by most insurances. You do have options such as long-term care insurance, or maybe you have Medicaid through a Medicaid waiver program where that may provide and pay for a few hours of home care service. Or if you're a veteran or a surviving spouse of a veteran, you may get some hours paid for through insurance or through that benefit. So the biggest thing is that just to know that personalized care services, if it's just home care that's needed, I always tell people just be prepared to encounter it being private pay. And with skilled care, there are a lot of benefits through that covered through Medicare. And some of the most commercial insurances will cover some things for the skilled.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things, Whitney, that families really have at the top of their priority list is the concern of what happens when they're not with their loved one. You can't be with a loved one 24 hours a day unless they happen to live with you. My father, lived with my wife and I, what supposed to be for a couple of weeks ended up being 3 years. So, that's usually the exception and not the rule. How do you help families to better balance that independence with safety, especially when they're juggling, work, children, and their own lives?
Well, I would say, look, that's where Lindsay comes in with this wonderful, wonderful CareBloom system. CareBloom, I actually recommend it to families just because it is, especially if you have someone that is still ambulatory, still able to move around, it's very important to have an extra set of eyes. And so, like you said, Lance, we can't, a family member can be there 24 hours a day, even if the loved one is in the same home. So CareBloom provides this basically a safety system where the client is able to wear a bracelet, and there are motion sensors put throughout the house. And those motion sensors are able to track certain movements, certain vital signs, things of that nature. And it goes to a computer where it's being monitored by a nurse or an agency owner where they're able to actually see and have that set of eyes while the loved one is away. So I recommend things like that in the home. It's not a camera system, so you still have your privacy. I know how some people feel about cameras in the home. I'm not a big fan of cameras in the home just because of comfortability and just that whole privacy sector. And a lot of times I think people forget like that the camera is always rolling. And so like for just the privacy of even a shower sometimes or the toilet, sometimes, you're just thinking you're at home. And so, hey, I may not need to close the door because I'm at home. But if a camera is there, then you do need to make sure you're, crossing all the T's and dotting the I's. But CareBloom is wonderful because, again, it's someone else watching, and you don't always have to just be, on edge worrying about what's happening while you're at the grocery store or while you're at your own doctor's appointment. And it just gives you a little bit more security, I think.
Yeah. Well, I know. Go ahead, Lindsay.
I would say Whitney is actually our preferred home care provider using CareBloom. So if you go to Whitney, you can actually get them through Whitney, and then she can also monitor them. But if you come to us and you're asking for somebody to monitor them, we can also put you in touch with Whitney to make sure that you have somebody there on the other end.
Yeah, Whitney, where would you like people to go to learn more about that? We're going to have it in the show notes as well, but I'd like to get it up on the screen and have you share it for those that may not be able to watch right now but are listening.
Sure. So you could find out more on our website, which is www.paradigmhcinc.com. There we have a whole CareBloom section that gives you information about CareBloom and where you can also fill out a contact so that we can, or an inquiry page where we can contact you and answer all your questions. And there's a phone number there as well. So
wonderful. And we've all heard stories where a small change, whether it's sleep, more eating, less eating, maybe moving differently or becoming less active, was the first sign that there was something going on. How can technology help caregivers and families recognize those subtle changes earlier rather than waiting until there's a crisis?
Well, technology is wonderful because it allows us just to be able to, how can I say it, strategically monitor and track what's happening in real time. And so being able to do that, we're able to get ahead of what's actually going on. If we see on the monitor that this person is going to the restroom, maybe 5 times in an hour, then we know that, okay, this is unusual, something's going on here. So maybe we need to contact the family, have them reach out to the PCP. It could be the start of a UTI. They're just things that we're able to, with the technology, it just gives us a heads up. So I think it's a great tool to incorporate into, not just into business, but into the lives of individuals who are caring for loved ones at home.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, technology is becoming a very big part of aging in place, from AI to passive monitoring. What innovations do you think will have the biggest impact on helping older adults remain safely at home over the next several years?
I definitely think that things that track falls or fall prevention methods, let's see. I think Life Alert is like number one right now, but I believe that technology more advanced than Life Alert is coming on, will be coming on the scene. And I think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards that because falls are still one of the number one things that land our seniors back in the ER or, in the hospital or, with broken limbs, broken bones, and then they have to go through the whole process of rehab and, then PT at home. And it's just like a cycle. So I think people are definitely going to be gravitating to things for monitoring, safety monitoring and things that actually do fall detection.
Yeah, absolutely. For that family that might be listening right now or watching, and they're wondering whether it's too early for home care, what would you tell them?
It's never too early for home care. Never. I think that you should always build a relationship with a local home care company, and building what that relationship building looks like is reaching out to them, seeing what services they provide, seeing, maybe they have something, maybe you're not quite at the point yet where you need the home care, but they may have something just like with CareBloom. They may have a hybrid where you don't need a personal hands-on caregiver, but you need the eyes. And so just building that relationship, knowing what they provide, knowing how insurance, comes into play, being aware that, you may need assistance to pay for home care. Just the awareness and relationship, I think, is everything, because home care should be literally just like an extension of your care community, an extension of family, and you shouldn't be a stranger to home care.
Right. Absolutely. What advice would you give to a family listening right now that's wondering if, what are those signs when they should start bringing in support or even adding technology like CareBloom that can actually help someone stay independent longer rather than waiting until after an emergency?
I would say if you're noticing that your loved one is having frequent falls, if you're noticing that they're getting a little bit more forgetful, a little bit more off balance, I think that those are like the couple big ones that signal that, okay, we may need some extra support.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to jump in here Whitney, because you and I know each other super well. And Whitney is one things that I really love about you and everything that you do is in home care, we talk a lot about the care recipient, right? And Whitney, you run Caregiver Support Global that I am so honored to be a board member on. But Whitney's really great with supporting the family caregiver, and she knows more about this than almost anyone. She's like, you're one of the top experts in this caregiving support world, and maybe kind of telling people who are listening who are the family caregiver about what you offer that's just for them as well.
Sure. So through the nonprofit Caregiver Support Global, we offer pretty much our whole array of things is surrounded by basically letting the family caregiver know that you're not alone. And so all the resources that we provide are centered around virtual conversations, virtual meetings where you can have either one-on-one support or you can have group support. We have we even have a Facebook group of about 26,000 family caregivers where people are allowed to vent. We have, along with the venting, we also have in there, we have therapists in there, we have health coaches in there, we have life coaches in there. We have a plethora of resources in there. Even LTCareNav is in there. So, whatever questions they have on their caregiving journey, that groups is a huge help of support. And I always call it just like we're your virtual companion. So, when you need us, you pull us out your back pocket, we're right there. There's always going to be someone in that group that's able to respond. And so through Caregiver Support Global, our goal is to have representatives in every state that support caregivers through, with resources. And we don't want to just be the person that sends you to all the third parties. We want to be the connector, and we want to be the connection.
That's wonderful. Whitney, where would you like people to go to learn more about Caregiver Support Global?
Our website is www.caregiversupport.services.
Okay, wonderful.
And actually, in the group, Whitney and I are getting ready to launch a family support in a very different way where we will be giving away families respite, 4 hours of respite each. So we will be launching that within the group. So people who want to go and join the Caregiver Support Global group on Facebook, Whitney and I are going to start a campaign to give away respite because we know how much families need that.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, Whitney, Rochelle, Lindsay Friedman, thank you both so much for joining us. It's a pleasure. Whitney, thank you for all the work you're doing on behalf of family caregivers and professional caregivers.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
Our pleasure. Bye-bye.